What is up, everybody? Welcome to Sitting with Sean, episode number 39. Brought to you by the Antisocial Network. That's a new plugin we got there, Antisocial Network. And today we have a very special guest. His name is TreShawn. How you doing, TreShawn?
Pretty good, man. Overall, can't complain.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. TreShawn came to me and he said, "I want to share my story. I want to talk about some things that I've been through and what I am currently going through." And so, TreShawn, would you like to give an introduction of yourself?
Yeah, sure, man. All right. So my name is TreShawn. I was born and raised in Alaska. Been here since day one. Been out of state a few times, and definitely for a guy in his early 20s, definitely experienced and seen some things that most grown-ups probably haven't even experienced quite yet.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. It's a different culture shock when you step away from Alaska and go to another state or another location, huh?
Very. And North Carolina was the place I've been to the most, and probably one of my favorite, if not the favorite place that I would like to go to if I ever got out of state.
Nice, nice. Where in North Carolina you want to go to?
Oh, Raleigh. I got tons of
Raleigh.
family there, and two sets of grandparents. I also just like the old fashioned vibe. It's very wholesome. It's very like natural. So yeah, it's just the heat's gonna take a bit to get used to because you just literally breathe hot air. But
Yeah,
I mean, I like it. So
yeah. I was stationed at Fort Bragg, just south of Raleigh. Been to Raleigh quite a few times. It's a very beautiful city, very beautiful place. But so TreShawn, what is it you would like to talk about today, man?
I got a few subjects that I wanted to talk about. One of them is um, the daily battle with my depression and anxiety. Other part is my current addiction, which is nicotine that I'm trying to work through, and the other piece. Hang on, let me pull out my notes on my phone really quick. I got a whole notes
No
section.
worries. No worries.
So the other piece is that kind of wanted to talk about what life is like from the point of view from a autistic person's point of view, because I know not a lot of people really have the full access of living life with with living with that.
Mhm.
And the last piece I'd like to touch on is my coping mechanisms, what I've used in the past, what I currently use, and what I plan to use. And then during the final section of our talk, I will include that in a little positive message outro.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. Sounds good. So right off the bat, I want to say my brother. I have a younger brother, and he's autistic, and so autism awareness really it's near and dear to my heart. I've seen the struggles that he's gone through and that my mom's gone through. You know, just being with what he goes through. He's really successful. He's about to graduate high school. He's a very talented artist, and I couldn't be more proud of him. But this isn't about him; it's about you. So, so when was it that you realized, or that somebody brought your attention that you might be autistic?
Well, first off, props to your brother. That's really good to hear. And when you talked about his art, his being a great artist, um, I think that kind of stems from the fact of being autistic because we do have some doors closed for us in our lives, being autistic mentally and in the adult world. But we also have very unique avenues open for us that we become a lot more in touch with, like our creative side especially with art, music, stuff like that. Like for instance, I write a lot of poetry. I write a lot of lyrics for my music that I make, and just stuff like that. And sometimes it can definitely feel like all of your mental illness can really feel like it's an ailment rather than something that you can use to push forward. But I think that the more you just get more in tune with yourself and figure out exactly how you want to channel that type of energy, then like you have no idea how far you can really go.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of people need to hear that message that you just said, and
Right.
I definitely right there, my man, right there.
Yeah.
So what has it been like for you living
Uh
with autism?
it's definitely been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Um well, when I first realized that I could have it, I wasn't even old enough to remember that I was told that I could be autistic. So it's been a very big debate from my doctor's point of view in the past and my family's point of view in the past of whether of exactly when I exactly like showed first signs of it, or if I just got it at birth or stuff like that. But
Hmm.
it kind of all ties into when I had cancer when I was 2. I had large cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma,
Hmm.
um, when I was 2, and ever since I got sick, ever since I was sick, I just heard stories and stories, and I've seen photos about how I was an extremely picky eater, even when I was just super little,
Yeah.
and um, I would only watch certain shows, and it was just kind of hard to really put to kind of figure out exactly which it was. Like okay, so he's just super sick, he doesn't feel good, so he of course he's only going to want to do certain stuff. But it was kind of like an extreme thing. Like I would literally only eat certain things or I would not eat.
Yeah.
So ever since that point, and then about a year later when I was 3, I started to become cancer free, and then I believe when I was 4, is when I was able to start the life of a healthy kid. I missed tons of school that like a preschooler would usually have,
Hmm.
so my hand-eye coordination never completely fully developed. So there was a lot of struggles with like using my hands and fingers for certain stuff and certain motions. Like it took me a long time to learn how to like how properly to use silverware and stuff like that. And I didn't even know how to like properly tie my shoes until uh man, until I was like I want to say anywhere between like 7 and 9.
Mm.
So it's definitely been a uphill struggle. There's been a lot of moments in my life where I just give up and I just slide down the hill, and I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna start fresh and climb back up. Um, so I have what is considered high functioning autism,
Hmm.
which basically means that you could hang out with me and you could like we could hang out and do whatever, and you wouldn't be able to tell that I was autistic or that I had Asperger's,
Yeah.
because I function just like any average person would during the day. It's just that there's a few key certain things that trigger me a lot more easily. Like in school, I used to be super hypersensitive to noise, so they would always have to tell me like way beforehand if they were going to test the fire alarm,
Mm.
because otherwise I would just shut down or I just get so overwhelmed that I just wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So being autistic from a younger age and from where I'm at now, It's definitely a completely different situation. I handle things completely differently, and obviously, I'm handling a lot of different stuff from that point. And yeah, so um, another thing about the autism is just that mental illness itself is already not exactly a big thing in the world. It's not
Yeah.
exactly something that gets focused on as much as it should be. It's kind of something that the average person who doesn't really have any mental illness per se will just kind of look at it and be like, okay, I guess I can understand that, but they just kind of put it to the side because and that's not necessarily them being rude. It's just them literally just not understanding, and that's not their fault. Because a lot of, I mean, because like in order to really understand like depression, anxiety, ADD, PTSD, things like that, you you either have to literally have it or you have to like be in close contact with somebody that you care about who does have that
Yeah.
in order to like actually get a hands-on experience of what that person goes through, whether it's you or somebody that you're close to.
Yeah.
So um it's really it's really just a big perspective thing, and we all come from different backgrounds and walks of life, so of course everyone's not gonna easily and mutually agree on the same topics, especially when it comes to mental illness and stuff. But I feel like mental illness, and then there's Asperger's and autism, which I feel like is on the deeper is on the even deeper level of not exactly being looked at that much by society or the world. I mean, there's obviously like there's some amazing organizations that that help with that with the awareness, and they go along with the studies and stuff like that to try to figure out um, so they can just have more of an understanding and stuff like that. Um, but when it comes to me, um, with my autism, um, I am built from the ground up on a solid routine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I my sleep schedule is iffy right now, so that's not really a factor. I'm working on that. But when it comes to like knowing what's going on for my day, I really need to know exactly what's going to happen at what time, because the slightest thing could happen and it just throws the rest of my day off.
Yeah.
And um, I used to feel bad about that. Like when I was younger, I was hanging out with my mom and my sister, and like something last minute would come up, and I would just freak out. I would just have like a little miniature panic attack because I wasn't expecting anything to change. The day was going fine. Why does it have to be different?
Yeah.
So I've definitely overcome that with how I am nowadays. I'm a lot more flexible, and um, the way that I was raised with having my mental illness, I've learned that I need to learn how to adapt to situations in the world, because the world's not going to cater to me. The world it's not going to adapt to how I want things to go, and um, so that's definitely been one difficult struggle is changing my flexibility with life and just being able to go with the flow type of things. Whether it's planned out or stuff comes up last minute. So that's one thing that I've overcome. And um, another big thing that used to really bother me was being labeled as autistic rather than just being seen as a person who has autism.
Yeah.
So, um, um, because I used to be very self conscious about my mental illness. I used to be very ashamed of it. Like, okay, why do I have it? Like, like, why can't I just be quote unquote normal? Why
Yeah,
can't I just like not deal with this so I can feel better? But over the course of my life, I've also learned that it's not a disability. It's more of something that you just have, and you can either use it as a crutch to to keep pushing yourself forward, or you can kind of let it weigh you down, and you just kind of and you can just kind of sink into yourself.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
those labels. Those sorry to interrupt. Those
no, go
labels.
ahead.
Um, and that's why I don't identify myself as an alcoholic. I identify myself as a person in long term recovery because like I'm no longer that part. And I think the labels can really beat us up and beat us down.
Right. And it just forces a certain perspective onto you from the general public because um because like if someone just like if I'm just labeled as autistic, I'm gonna get viewed very differently rather than if I just just rip that label off and make a new label for myself as someone who has autism.
I like
And
that.
it's more of something that you just need to work with and use it for yourself rather than letting it hurt you and letting it taint the person that you worked so hard to become.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I used to view my self image very negatively. Like back in high school was probably the worst, probably one of the worst mental times I had in my life. Uh, just because I had a lot going on back then, but also just because like I would just walk down the hall every single day, see all different types of people, and I would just kind of think to myself okay, do I really want any friends? Honestly, do I really need to fit in? Like, just it just kept running through my head. So I just ended up being the more type of a loner, of where I would just like get my lunch during lunchtime. I would just go in a corner, or I would just find a quiet place, and I would just put my headphones on, and I would just relax rather than having to hear the constant noise of everything else going on. So I kind of just made my own environment for myself in an area with constant chaos and in an environment that I couldn't control. So I found a way that I could find some control so that I can be as stable as possible.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So um after I graduated high school, I graduated with honors, and I did far better than I expected to. I really had to push myself for my junior and senior year because the freshman and sophomore was definitely a big struggle with the home life and just education wise. It just wasn't the best time. So I really had to dig deep and just find that reason to keep going. And so after I graduated, um, I got the National Sojourners Award for having one of the highest GPAs in the nation. So that was pretty cool. And then I was in JRTC for all 4 years of high school as well, which I think is probably one of the biggest reasons that I was able to become the person I am today, because um, it was always positive. It was a very strict routine, which I loved. And when I put the uniform on, it gave me just a really unique sense of purpose. It gave me something to look forward to, and it just made me feel like 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 okay, if like when I'm wearing this, I don't have to be TreShawn with depression. I don't have to be with my anxiety. I can just be with the rest of my with the rest of my RTC buddies, and we can just all form as a unit. So that I don't have to I don't have to like feel alone.
Yeah.
So um after high school, um just kind of had a had a few rough years of mental health because I was out of school, and I was like, okay, so what do I do now? I don't want to go back to school yet. I'm not ready for college. So I just kept pushing for the next few years, helping family, dealing with other stuff and all that. And then about just under, if not just over 2 years ago, I got my own place. And I made it my place of peace. I made it my fortress. I made it my, I made it my, like, I made it my escape. But I learned how to turn it into a positive escape rather than just somewhere to hide, like mentally or physically. It was, it was very difficult to not use my house as somewhere where I can just shut everything off, because it's very easy to do that because you're in your own environment, you're in your own peace, you control what happens. So it was very hard to not stay in the repeated cycle of isolation. But um, I found a way to get myself out of that, and then um, so after work I would maybe go play some basketball in the summertime. Maybe I would um, try some new hobbies just to keep myself busy so that I didn't feel like I was just stuck at home and things like that. And I would just force myself to just kind of get out of the house, because the biggest thing I learned was that my home was somewhere to return to after dealing with things. It's not really a place to just sit and and just be so involved with yourself that you get lost in your head, and then you just lose focus of trying to make yourself better.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Um, when did for you did you notice that the depression started setting in and the anxiety
Um, like with my house or in general.
in general?
Uh, well, in general, I think I noticed my first. I think I noticed my first few incidents of my depression and anxiety uh, when I was probably about 10 or 11. Um, I think is when my depression and anxiety just started to come in spurts. So that's when
Mhm.
at that age I started seeing a therapist, and we would play chess during the sessions, and he would just help me focus my mind on the task at hand, and it would just help me transition from if something's going on, find something to positively stimulate yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started to learn about coping mechanisms. And ever since then, it became a lot easier to manage, and things got better overall.
Nice. Nice. What do you use as some of your coping mechanisms to help you out?
Uh, well, the things I used to do as coping, they don't really work anymore, mainly because I'm dealing with different problems. from back then, and just because I just evolved as a person, so I just kind of fell out of touch with those things.
Mhm.
But nowadays, music is probably the number one. Like if I'm at work or out and about, it there there's a 95% chance that you'll see me with a headphone in. It just it just helps drown the world out at least a little bit so that I can just stay more focused so I'm not so overly stimulated and just overwhelmed by what's going on. And it's also something that just helps me get through the day
Mhm.
and just helps the time and situation pass.
Yeah.
So so music is definitely one thing, and I've started over the last year to start actually making it and taking it seriously with lyrics, whether it's on my computer or my phone or in a couple of notebooks and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, my other coping mechanism currently is gaming.
Mhm.
I've always been a gamer, like as long as I can remember, from the Nintendo 64, the original Xbox, Xbox 360, and then the PS4. That I've been on the PS4 for uh, I don't even know how long it's been.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's several years. Um, it's a very positive coping mechanism for me because I have strategy games, brain teasers, um, RPG type games, open worlds, scavenging, surviving, and stuff like that. So I learned to just kind of transition like a hobby that made me happy into something that I could use as a daily coping thing to help just with everyday life. And um, another coping mechanism I have right now is photography has been a very big one for me over the last few years. I had a camera before I lost it, but that just happened.
Mhm.
Um, when I started photography, I was out with my mom on I think it was just a summer drive or something
Mhm.
down the highway, and she gave me the camera. And once I put the lens to my eye, it just gave me such a very just I just got an instant feeling. I fell in love with it right away because it just gave me such a close up, like such a unique perspective of the world, and just to see it completely differently. And you can capture like moments that'll never happen again. And um, I really started loving doing nature pictures, whether it was winter, spring, or summer. So took tons of pictures. I think I got mentioned, um, whether it was Anchorage wide or statewide, on a Facebook thing for black artists. I submitted some photos and then I got posted about it. So that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Um, and it's the my last coping mechanism um, is my counseling sessions for sure. Um, it's a place that I can just go to, where I can really just dig more deeper into like recent stuff that has happened, whether it's big or small. That way, it just doesn't keep getting piled in my head, and then out of nowhere, I just crash, and I don't know why.
Yeah, definitely.
So um, it's definitely a really helpful unload mentally,
Hmm.
just to kind of because even if I don't think it's really significant to talk about, I do it anyway because just get it out as much as I can so that I can be as stable and as neutral as possible to just keep going.
Absolutely, absolutely. What is your favorite game that you've ever played?
Oh man, the game I first fell in love with was Assassin's Creed for sure,
It's a good game. It's a good choice.
and got more into fighting games a little bit after that. I don't know. It really just depends what mood I'm in. It depends what I want to play. I oh man, I can't even pick that.
I gotta say, my favorite is Minecraft. I play Minecraft religiously.
Okay. See, I've tried it, but it's just not for
Yeah, it's a game. Yeah, it's definitely a game. You know, I know a bunch of people that are like, "Oh, I tried it. I tried it." You know, it's one of those things that either you really enjoy it or you just don't like it. There's no in
me. Yeah,
between. It's not like oh, I can live with it or live without it. Um,
yeah, yeah. You really have to have a love for it to play it on the level that some people do.
oh yeah, I watch YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube with people who play Minecraft, and it's insane. Some of the things that they do. But all right, TreShawn. So what inspiration would you give to somebody that's dealing with depression or anxiety or is living with autism? What inspiration would you give them, man? Because to be honest, you're an inspiration to me. You inspire me.
No. Well, I appreciate that a lot. Well, to answer that question, I'm gonna bring it back a little bit as to the reason of why I wanted to have this talk with you is because I feel like I have a very unique perspective that not a lot of people are ever going to hear about very often because where I'm coming from, there's autism, there's depression, there's anxiety, there's PTSD, there's and then there's also like also from a minorities perspective as well.
Hmm.
So I think the number one thing that I would definitely tell someone who is battling their depression is one is that is to not let your depression become you because it is a and of course that's far easier said than done and obviously I understand that um don't let the negative influences that your brain tries to throw at you taint the positive traits that you've worked so hard to to portray for the image of yourself because once you let the negative urges or the negative influences that your brain tries to corrupt you with then you're going to slowly turn your positives more into negatives and then once you let that happen it's going to get closer and closer to yourself and then it's just going to rot your core so it's better to just stop it dead in its tracks before before it gets to that dangerous of a point of where you're sunk that low and two which is probably the most important one um, is that to realize that you are worth more than the darkness
I couldn't
because
agree more.
self appreciation, self love, and just understanding that it's okay to not be okay.
I think a lot of people struggle with that idea of thinking that the world's going to end because they're not okay, when in reality the world's going to keep going on. They just have
Right.
to get to that point where it's okay for them to not be okay.
right? Or they're afraid of the immediate or long-term judgment from the people that they care about the most, of looking at them differently just because they're going through the motions, or they're starting to show sides of themselves that they don't like to publicly show. They prefer to keep that more internal and process that pain on their own time, so that they can come back and portray themselves as the person that that the people usually see them as. And obviously people have their own way of coping, people have their own way of um, of self-healing. And so I can't really speak of exactly what's wrong and right. I don't think anyone really can. Um, but just take the message as you wish to perceive it. And I really do hope that it does help somebody, and I hope it does move someone to motivate and maybe do something differently, or try something new, or it just kind of gives them a boost even if they don't realize that they need it. Just realize that you are worth more than your darkness,
Absolutely.
because it really does take a lot to 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 get to such a good place in the first place. And once you get there, you need to realize that you are worth standing on that pedestal, far above your depression, anxiety, and anything else that you may be dealing with. Because once you let it creep up on you, it's a very dangerous game. So
Absolutely.
it's definitely a life of tug of war, of where no one's necessarily always winning, no one's necessarily always losing. It's more of trying to just meet in the middle and compromise with yourself, and just trying to make sure that you can just stay as neutral as possible. So so that when your depression, anxiety tries to pull you, it might tug you a bit, but it's not gonna hurl you so much that you end up losing yourself.
Yeah. I see that a lot too. I see a lot of people get so far deep in their depression, their anxiety, that they just lose who they are. That's rough. It's why it's hard to watch.
Yeah. But another thing I'd like to say, as far as like my message goes for inspiration, is that um, just because you're at a low point, or just because you fell down and you feel like you feel like you can't get any lower, that does not mean that you can't rebuild yourself and work back up to the place where you want to be. It doesn't mean that, all right, well, I guess I messed up, or all right, I guess my brain is telling me that I really am just not worth trying to get better, or I'm just not worth um um being um like your brain might just tell you, like, okay, you're really not just worth trying to be better. So why don't you just stay in this negative place where 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 like where it's comfortable? Because that's another thing. It can get very comfortable, and which is one of the reasons why getting so deep in depression is so dangerous. Because if you're the person who's dealing with it, it's very hard to gauge just how low you are. But if someone from the outside perspective, they can gauge it better, because they can actually see, like like okay, how are they dealing with their environment? How are they processing? Or have they ate? Have they slept recently? Have they slept good enough? And it can really feel like your mind has a mind of its own. and it can be very frustrating. It can be very aggravating, and it can be very confusing. So, um, that's why I try not to use the term mental illness, because I don't really see it as something that you're sick with or something that you're stuck with.
Yeah.
It's more something that um, that that you just have, but you have it for a reason, and the reason is not always bad. Some people just struggle with things, and some people just have certain challenges that they're just born with or they develop. But that doesn't mean that it necessarily changes who you are or who you want to be. That just means that that there's a few gaps that you can either kind of that can either slow you down, or you can use them to help you push even harder through life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. TreShawn, dude, you're an inspiration, man. You really are. You're an amazing human being. I hope you know that.
I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, just being able to push through life and push through some of the adversities and the cards that has dealt you, man. It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing to see where you're at.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Um I did yeah, it's like on my like when I had my birthday a while back. Um I was with family and we just did like a very big self-reflection of just where I was and where I am now, and it's it's kind of hard to believe that I actually got to this point of where I'm at, because I had so many chances to just give up. I had so many easy chances to just say, all right, you know what, I don't really have I don't have enough care left. I don't have the energy to do this anymore. So I'm just done. My life is gonna go how my life is gonna go. I'm I'm gonna hand over the wheel to somebody else and they can drive. But that's one of the worst things that you can do for yourself is to give the direction of your life over,
Oh yeah.
because even if you're on a really bumpy road or you can't really see what's ahead, at least you're in control.
Yeah. That's 100% correct. You give somebody else that control, man, and you kind of start to lose who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And um and just because you start to maybe lose some pieces of yourself doesn't mean that you're breaking down or you're falling apart. It just means that it's a transformation and you're evolving. But it's up to you to turn it into something positive rather than letting it just be negative.
Absolutely.
And of course, all this is far easier said than done. And it definitely does take a lot of emotional work, mental work, and sometimes physical. Because there have definitely been days where I just wake up and I literally just shrug myself off of the bed because I know if I stay there, I'm not going to get up.
Yeah. The hardest step is that first step.
Yeah. And my mom helped me learn that giving yourself small daily rewards during the day is a very big help. It's a very big booster for your confidence, and it's a very good reminder to yourself from yourself that hey, you're doing the best you can. You're doing good. Keep going with your day. Like like honestly, even sometimes taking a shower is a victory, because sometimes you just want to sit there and and because you feel so nasty and dirty inside, you don't care that you feel nasty on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So
I've definitely been at those points where showering was the hardest thing to do during the day.
right, because sometimes you don't want to wash it away. You it's just so much easier and more comfortable to just sit with it. But there's a difference between sitting with it for a moment, processing it, and kind of finding your own way to get out it, your own way to get out of it, rather than just rather than just letting it just weigh on you more and more.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, TreShawn, I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank you for sharing your story and sharing your experience with depression, anxiety, and with living with autism. Man, like I said before, you're a really big inspiration to me, and I want to appreciate you and say thank you.
Thank you as well, man. It's definitely an honor, and I really love that I was able to do this, and um, it's definitely meaningful to me personally, just to be able to have a voice and being able to share that from my perspective, and just having it reach out to really anyone, whether it's 3 people or 300 people.
Well, you're gonna help change some people's lives. I hope you know that.
Yeah, my mom says the same thing to me almost every day. She says that I survived cancer for a reason, whether it's music or something. But she's been claiming since day one that I'm going to make some kind of impact.
Yeah.
So I'm just living my
Well,
life, and when I see an opportunity, I guess I gotta go for it because something's gonna happen.
absolutely. Well, TreShawn, thank you for being on the show, man. Thank you for hanging out with me. And everybody, thank you for hanging out with us and listening to TreShawn explain his story and explain his life. And till next time, much love,
And
y'all.
there is one more thing.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Um, for everyone or anyone who has survived an illness, whether it's cancer of any type, whether it's um, whether it's a self harm attempt, whether it's anything like that, or if you're dealing with a loss, if you survived anything like that, and I can relate to that, um, a a big huge piece of my motivation for my life is to find my own reason of why I survived.
Yeah,
So
that's a big
I
one.
definitely want you guys to definitely find your own reason and make your own purpose and just certify it, like fortify it, and just do that, because no one is going to necessarily understand 100% except like you, because obviously you went through it. But definitely having such a supportive family in my life, I think definitely was a very huge piece to my success, especially my mom and my sister. They are my confidants, they're my best friends, they are my ride or dies. So
That's awesome.
so definitely lean on your family and your friends, um, because you're really not alone. It took me a long time to learn that, but there are so much resources, like Sean here, amazing guy. I've seen a lot of his episodes, and it's just floored me exactly just how much people have opened up, and just to see all the comments and the motivation and the inspiration just just from that. So I definitely um, love to see stuff like this happening, because it gives people a chance to have a voice and share it, because because a lot of people are ready to share. A lot of people are ready to talk. They just need to find an outlet that they're comfortable with, who will openly accept them, regardless of the mental illness, and regardless of where you came from. That doesn't matter.
Oh, I absolutely agree 100%. You know, there's a ton of people out there in the world that want to share their story and want to talk about what's going on with them and how they've, you know, moved past that. And you know, I'm just here for the ride, and I'm here to hear the stories, and I love it. So, but TreShawn, I want to thank you, man, once again for being on the show. Um, it's kind of loud. We've got people on the other side of this office, so
Yeah.
but I want to thank you for being on the show again, man, and thank you for your participation and for hanging out with me, man. I really enjoyed it. And everybody, thank you for hanging out with us and being with us. And couldn't do it without you guys.
All right, man. Big,
Much,
big, big shout out to Sean. Dude, I really appreciate being a part of this. This definitely made my day. I'm going to have an amazing day just because this happened. So, yeah, definitely big shout out to sitting with Sean. Definitely go check out his channel, guys. This guy is legit. This guy is awesome. And so just a little positive outro. Just a reminder, you are worth more than your darkness, and you are not your depression. You are not your anxiety. You are not any of the mental illness that you are dealing with. You are not alone. So please share your voice. Maybe find your own unique coping mechanisms. Or if you have some, keep practicing it. And just remember that you are worth more than how you may negatively feel. So with that, Sean, I'm going to give you the links to my Twitch channel, which I focus on mental health. I have a mental health Monday theme stream every single Monday. And at the latest, I do it on Tuesday because sometimes life happens, but I make sure to do it at least once a week, mostly on Mondays. I go live for about an hour, hour and a half, and just talk about different subjects, whether it's boundaries, triggers, or just kind of give a little one-on-one, tell you guys how my day was, stuff like that. I'm sitting at 22 followers at the moment, and let's get it running up because I definitely want to get to know you guys more, and I definitely want my channel to be about mental health and not just watching me get frustrated while I game.
absolutely, yeah. Let's go give this man a follow, and his links will be in the description below. So I will talk to you guys till next time. All right, till next time. Much love.
All
Be
right.
good, y'all.